What's up?
Hey, another Sunday, week 3. Welcome to Answers by Guess, the inside scoop from outside the box. Make sure you follow us and like us on Facebook. Find us on YouTube and subscribe. Hit that notification button. TikTok, X, Patreon, and Spotify. We'd appreciate it if you'd go onto those platforms and give us a follow. Well, it's week 3 already, Guess. Unbelievable. Time's flying by. We talked a little bit on Tuesday's show, a little bit about a new word called seiche and ebb and flow.
Yes, seiche.
And we got a lot of great games today, and so we wanted just to start off. So let's start off with the headlines. The Guess Gazette. And I already got one headline, really. We'll talk more about injuries throughout the games, but here we go. Now, you posted back on September 17th at 9:33 p.m. Eastern. I can feel the tensions building in my leagues. Moves are being made. Lineups are being adjusted. Part 2 of Part 1 starts this week, and I can feel it. Now, I thought maybe you were a musician and you're just throwing some words out. You're maybe writing a song for a new guest, a guest intro. But we had a lot of question marks and a little bit of huzz on this. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to explain that this was not a songwriting exercise and get your view on this, since there was a lot of confusion about this post.
Yeah, it's possible that I was, I like that you mentioned that. It's possible that I was channeling a little bit of my Tyler Joseph, 21 Pilots, my favorite band, just dropped a new album. So maybe I was being a little bit a Cody there. But I didn't feel like I was. But then we had Spencer and with his and Tiffany, Dawn, Tiffany. Hopefully they're both watching this. She said, exactly, huh? So it's pretty self-explanatory to me, but not to you, so I'll explain. For the first 2 weeks of the season, and everything that I've been telling people to do is you drafted a team, you just go with your guys, you don't worry about making too many swaps, wait for 4 weeks, and you got a good base of information. And then you can start making some crazy moves. But that started already. And I think a lot of the reason is because some of these big injuries. People might have been starting Eckler. People were certainly starting Burrow or J.J. McCarthy. And now Jaden Daniels, which is even later. And right after, and I think the 17th was right after, it was either right before, I'm not sure, waivers, I could feel it without anybody saying anything. People are picking up and dropping like crazy in the leagues that I'm in. People are swapping in and out guys that they've been playing for 2 weeks in a row. Just catching that ebb and flow, because it's what we talked about. If they didn't show up in week 1, they might have showed up in week 2. So just keep them in there. And if they showed up in week 1 on your bench, don't go crazy and just think you have to play them, because they're probably going to have a down week. Guys like Keon Coleman, stuff like that. But people are swapping guys in and out. I'm looking at my matchups. I look at it one day early in the week, and they have it set. And because of injuries or because of last week's performances, people are freaking out. And to me, it's a little bit early in the season for that. I'm used to this around week 6 or 7 or so, where people are really starting to get into it, but it's starting already. And a couple of the big injuries had something to do with that. And the part 2 of part 1 is the first 4 weeks of the season. This is part 2 of that, because week 1 and 2 are done. So now we're into the second half of that. And I just wanted to state that I could feel it. And this is the earliest I ever remember feeling it league-wide. Like sometimes I feel it within myself, because I'm like, oh, man, my team is really sucking, or all my guys are hurt. I got to go crazy early on. People are going crazy early on. I didn't know if it's the same in most leagues. Maybe some of you will see that now if you look back on stuff that was done over the past 4 days since this was posted, but I noticed it, and I didn't think I was being cryptic, Cody. I felt like it was pretty straightforward, but hopefully it makes sense now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to have confidence in your draft, but you also have to be patient. We talked about that ebb and flow. You've talked about it for years. Uh, and there's times, just like last week, those Giants players just went crazy nuts. Now we'll see if they go crazy this week, but that was one big example where a lot of people had them on the bench, and then there's sheer panic. We'll play them this week because they did so well last week. So thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah, I guess if I were to surmise it and paraphrase it in one quick sentence, is it feels like mid-season already, and it's only week 3.
Yeah, very unusual to have so many injuries at quarterback and some running back injuries really early on, some wide receiver injuries really early on, and people coming out of nowhere to put up some decent points and really question whether you've done the right thing or not. All right. Well, if you're listening in, give us a like, whether you're listening in on Facebook or YouTube. We'd really appreciate it. Let's go. It's a busy week, number 3, but the second headline, Bills 31, Dolphins 21. Now, I'm hearing that everyone's giving a tip of the cap to the Dolphins because they kept it close. What was your take on this game? I mean, for me, Cook again is probably one of the best running back right now, if not in the top 2 or 3 with Bijan and that getting the ball. But the Bills and the Dolphins, I see one thing: the running backs are getting the ball, but then it's spread around all across their offensive players. It's really difficult to determine who's going to be their go-to guy. So your thoughts on the Bills and Dolphins game?
Yeah, if you're wondering why Jordan Love's there, I guess what this is cryptic week, and maybe it's just because the Packers are awesome, and who can't get enough of the Packers? But I think I said in the Tuesday game, Marty, that for this game you're just going to play the guys you would normally play. They'll all produce. They'll all do something. Tyreek did something. Waddle did something. Achane did everything except for score a touchdown. For the Bills, it was Shakir and Kincaid and Cook and Allen. So it was exactly how I thought it would be. The only thing I thought that was that the Dolphins would cover. And if it wasn't until, like, I think, what was it, a block kick or something, bad interception, I can't remember. Something happened that changed the game real quick. The Dolphins were right in it. And the line was, I think, 9.5. So, I mean, they were pretty close to covering. So, all in all, I feel like the game went pretty much according to plan. But I don't know if you have the ABG3P stats to go next or not. But I wonder how I did. Maybe just give them the record.
Yeah, I did not get to that,
Okay.
unfortunately. But the Dolphins were favored by 11.5, so they did cover. Sometimes some of them had it 12.5.
Oh, really? That much?
And it
All
was
right, so.
it was Tua. They were taking the Dolphins down the field, and Tua threw that bad interception.
Yes. Okay.
But they kept it fairly close. Just couldn't get over the hump. But overall, the yardages were generally over. They spread it around. Tua didn't have a big passing game, 146 yards, 62 yards for Achane, and Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon got some touches, got a TD, but it's a little early. But nice to see that, and I'm sure a lot of Achane or Waddle or Tyreek Hill or whoever were upset that Ollie got that touchdown. But
so I think all in all, Marty, all in all, if you started a guy from this game that I said to start, because I said don't start Keon Coleman because he had his big fourth quarter week 1, didn't do anything week 2. I think he deserves to be on your bench. So if you started anybody who you would normally start from this game, I think you wound up relatively satisfied.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions about Waddle. He played him. He did pretty well. He had 6 targets, 5 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown. So pretty average there.
Right.
Yeah, and I could say this was a Freudian slip because the next first game we're going to highlight is your Packers against my Browns.
That's
And
okay. More Packers is never a bad thing.
yeah, all right. Before we get to the game, just a few questions here coming from Facebook. Full PPR, running back, pick two only. ETN versus Houston, Walker versus Saints, Gibbs versus Baltimore. And then we'll go to your next one.
Um, I uh, I want to say ETN and Walker, but I think I'm going to go Walker and Gibbs for the
All
first
right.
one.
Second one, pick three only. London versus Carolina. London, Debo, Ridley, or Tet.
I'm going to go London, Ridley, and Tet.
All right. All right. Very good. Here we go. Question number 2. Shouldn't be too hard. You lost Fields for the week. Tiffany lost Fields for the week, and first instinct was to pick up Brownie. Here's a list of who was out there. Should I pick up one of these guys instead? She may have already done this, but Geno Smith, Stroud, Wilson, Lawrence, Stafford, Darnold.
I went with Browning myself for this week. I didn't have these options available. Looking at it, I mean, maybe Stroud. Yeah, she probably already picked somebody up, but I'm going with Browning. I don't dislike the matchup. I know it's a tough one, but you are going against a backup quarterback as well as having your backup quarterback, so there could be some short fields involved. Your defense could rise up a little bit with a backup quarterback being in there. And he's got the best weapons out of any of these guys, Browning. So I'm fine with him if that's who you want.
All right. So this weekend, Higgins or Debo this weekend, leaning towards Debo after the Burrow injury.
See, I'm fine with Higgins still. Again, same thing, but they both are going to have backup quarterbacks now, so which could help Debo. They could run him more. You'll have Rodriguez active this game to help out. I think JCM will be just fine. They'll utilize him more. I'm going to go with Higgins.
Okay. This one's a little bit. So now that Daniel is definitely out, my backup is Gino. I don't love that this week. Not much available to me. I was thinking Marcus Mariota. He's not shown here for some reason, but is available. Thoughts? We got Carson Wentz, Flacco, Rattler, Tyro Taylor, Jackson Dart, and I think that's Milrow, backup for Seattle. Which
there's no use in starting him right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Gino hasn't been terrible. But I get it. But again, it's going to be backup quarterback. Maybe you get some short fields. I think I would just go with him. I mean, I can see we haven't gotten into the game, but I could see Flacco at home against the Packers first road game. Him having one of his Flacco games that he's had as of late. I guess if I'm going with anybody out of this list, and it's tough because the Packers defense is incredible. The only one I'm picking other than Geno is Flacco.
Okay.
Rattler hasn't looked too bad.
No.
To be honest, these first couple of weeks, but I'm not.
All right. So Scott in his lineup has currently Mooney in the flex. He's worried they won't throw the ball much. Henderson isn't getting enough carries, but the Pitt run defense sucks. So he could break out. Dami Brown against a depleted Houston backfield. Would that be a better chance for flex? He's got in here on his lineup Henderson, Allen from the Jets, Sampson for the Browns, Najee Harris. Your thoughts on should keep Mooney in, or is it a Henderson or maybe Allen for the Jets? De'Ami Brown, as he states.
If you like Mooney, go with them, but I think you're spot on that they should be able to just run as much as possible against the Panthers. I'm between Henderson and Allen, to be honest. And I kind of want to lean Henderson. I think that this might be a week where people have been starting Henderson and they're feeling like he belongs right where you have them, Scott, and he has a game. And I believe they're at home. So
They are.
I think I'm going to go with Henderson over Mooney.
All right. We'll talk more about the Steelers and Pat's game, but I agree with Scott in regarding the Pitt's run defense the first 2 weeks. We'll talk about them more upcoming. All right, let's get to a few matchups and we'll go back to some of your questions in a moment. So, game number 1, yes, I love it's the Packers 8-5, 8.5-point favorites against the Browns at home. Over under is 41.5. The Packers D has been playing really, really well. On the Packers offense side, Tucker Kraft is questionable. It's been back and forth if he's going to play. I haven't seen a recent update. Obviously, Jaden Reed out. I mentioned if Kraft's out, obviously they have their backup tight end, but I was thinking some of these other receivers might, your 5 guys for your eyes that you mentioned on Tuesday may step up. For the Browns, you mentioned Flacco. He can toss the ball around to Judy and Tillman, and he's got those double tight ends. But are the Browns going to go with a Judkins Ford Sampson type deal and just do a 3-headed monster? What's your thoughts on this game here in Cleveland? Cleveland has not started out 0-3 since 2017.
Yeah, that's an interesting stat. Immediately I saw this line. It opened at 9.5, and then it got bought all the way down to 7.5, which means a lot of the early bettors were on the Browns. I know I was nervous last week, and they handled. Again, I wanted to say Redskins, the Commanders, but I'm nervous again because the Packers played their first 2 games at home. They beat 2 NFC playoff powerhouses and beat them handily. And now they go on the road to the Dog Pound. And it's a tough place to play. The Browns are 0-2. The backs are against the wall. Flacco hasn't had one of his recent blow-up, show-out games. And I'm very nervous. And I think 8.5 is way too much for a team to be getting at home. So I would be on the Browns in this one. I think that they'll stay competitive. I think Judkins is going to get a ton more snaps than he had last week. He's now had a couple weeks under his belt, a little bit of game time. And they might use him early on to really try and pound and bruise and beat down this Packers defense. They have the wide receivers to attack. Their 2 tight end punch, like you mentioned. Fannin stayed involved last week. He didn't disappear. He had a pretty decent stat line, so they'll use both. I'm fine with playing him if you have to. Njoku, Judy, Tillman in the deepest of leagues, but he started to splash a tiny bit. I think Judkins is going to be the one. I think that we could put the other 2 sort of to the back burner, especially if they get close. And for the Packers, if Kraft is out, Musgrave is who you get. I mean, Musgrave was the guy before Musgrave got hurt, and then Kraft took off. So I think they're really close to one in the same. Kraft maybe a little bit more, what word do I want to use? Athletic, I guess, if you would call either of them that. A little more explosive, powerful, I guess. But Musgrave is who you go after. And I think Wicks is going to step right into the read role and excel. And all the guys I mentioned, 5 guys for your eyes. But don't forget about Romeo. With Jacobs being banged up going into this one, that's another reason that I'm a little worried because he's basically the grease for this Packers team. So hopefully he gets out of this one unscathed and plays the whole game.
Yeah, and the Browns' defense has been pretty tough traditionally, and they've started out pretty well in that case the first 2 games. All right. So you giving the Packers a win? They get a cover?
I don't think they're going to cover at the very least. I can't say out loud they're going to lose. I did last week and they won. So maybe I should keep the train going. Packers win by 1.
Good deal. Next, the New York Jets going down to Tampa to pay the Buccaneers. Buccaneers favored by 6.5. On the Buccaneers side, they have 3 offensive line players out due to their injuries, those starters. In addition, Sauce could probably going to be on Evans. Baker Mayfield just makes plays, either with his legs or with his arms. On the Jets side, obviously, Fields is out. Is this going to be a 2-headed monster with Hall and Allen taking up the snaps and keeping the ball away from the Buccaneers, or is Garrett Wilson or maybe the Jets tight ends going to get more burn in today's game?
I think they're going to run the ball a lot more. I think without Justin Fields and his electricity, I think Tyrod Taylor, Tyrod, however you want to say it, doesn't matter. Over the past couple shows, Marty, I've referred to Wan'Dale Robinson as a dry bologna sandwich on white bread. Well, I think Tyrod Taylor is just like a bread sandwich. He's just like 2 slices of bread, maybe a little slather of butter in the middle. And it's like, it's not really a sandwich. I feel like he's going to be so vanilla in this. Garrett Wilson is fine. You start him. Mason Taylor, if you must. But the 2 running backs, I think they really utilize them. And I think that with Fields being out is going to help both those running backs. That's sort of why I think with Scott's question, I was a little torn between Allen and Henderson. I gave a slight edge to Henderson just because he was at home, albeit the matchup was a little tougher on paper against the Steelers based on name value. But it's really, really close. I think Allen will be relatively fine in this one. And I think that Brees Hall will be fine in this one as well. And for the Bucks, Agbuka is iffy coming into this one. He's probably going to play, and then they say next week Godwin should be back, but that's next week, so we'll worry about that then. He's an old man too. Evans, you got to play Evans. The one player in this that I think that probably hasn't been started much and might be on waivers. Week 1 did absolutely nothing after being hurt all off season. Last week got his first couple catches. Cade Otton. The Jets stink against the tight end. And I think that Baker Mayfield is really going to rely on Cade Otton in this game. So I think he's going to have a really nice game. I think if you're iffy with your tight end or even your flex position, Scott, this is to you as well with your flex position. If Cade Otton is out there available, he's somebody who I think is going to have a really, really big game in this one because the Jets stink against the tight end. We talked about Sauce being on Evans. Igbuka's a little hurt. Cade Otton, I think, is going to be the star of this game.
Yeah. With the Jets pass rush, if there's 3 starters off of the offensive line, they're probably going to pressure Baker. Baker's going to have to get the ball out or scramble really quickly. So great call on Cade there, and we'll see how he does. All right. The Atlanta Falcons versus the Panthers going in. So biggest injury possibly here is Kyle Pitts, who has been doing pretty well the first couple of weeks. Has a toe injury, questionable, very limited in practice. This looks like a Bijan game versus the Panthers. I'm calling it Renfro's going to get at least double-digit targets and have 7 receptions today. But is this a Hubbard and Bijan game, just one of those run the ball 3 yards in a cloud of dust, or do we see anybody else stepping up here in this game?
If things go according to plan, Bijan will steamroll early on. You'll see a lot more Algier than we've seen all season, which is a good thing if Bijan scores a lot of fantasy points early on. It's a bad thing If he doesn't score a ton of points and they mix in Algier more early, both of them should be able to run all over the Panthers. I don't think that they've ever had a really solid rush defense. It's their secondary that's pretty good, which is also kind of why I went against Mooney with Scott. Yes, they probably shouldn't have to throw much. If they're smart, they'll run all over the Panthers. But also, if they do have success early on and the Panthers can't move the ball against their defense, then again, they're not throwing as much. So I think Algier could pop off in this one. And the one thing that you're going to have to see if that does happen and he's not owned yet, people are going to go after him next week. I think that unless you're a Bijan owner, you really don't need to. This is just a cake matchup for the running game for the Falcons. Kyle Pitts, I love the renaissance. Penix is looking his way. The coach is finally drawing up plays for him and using him correctly. I think he was a steal for fantasy players. I tried to get him in every draft. I couldn't. And he was just going to be a backup for me for the most part because I was all over Trey McBride. Maybe foolishly so, but regardless, the Panthers, yeah, Renfro, your bridge bonus, absolute great call. He has a nice resurgence going with them. It's a nice veteran, relatively, for Young to look at. And Young scored a ton of points last week, mostly unnoticed by a lot of people. And now they're at home. Falcons got a relatively good defense. I think, is Terrell out?
Yeah, he may be out.
Yeah, so that could be good things for Mr. Tet as well. So you're playing Tet if you haven't been starting him week 1 and 2. I've been talking him up since the preseason. And Chuba has been a little disappointing, I would say. It'll be tough, but you got to play him if he's your RB2 or your flex or whatever. He's fine. Jatavian Sanders, I'd like to see more out of him. He started to flash a little bit. When he's healthy, he's a beast. We'll see. This one, you just play your guys, but no, this one could be a little bit of a lower scoring game, whereas it looks like a higher scoring one on paper, just because the Falcons and the Panthers probably are both going to try and run the ball more than throw.
All right. Again, the Falcons favored by 4.5 on the road. All right, the Rams versus the Eagles. We talked about the Eagles a lot. They haven't thrown a passing touchdown. Hurts, been able to move a little bit, couple rushing touchdowns, a little bit of rushing yards. But the concern is with the Eagles wide receivers. Goddard's back in the mix for them. For the Rams, their defense has been playing really well. Stafford's getting the ball out to the old man Adams and Puka, and I think their running game is something that maybe they haven't been able to utilize too much. Is this a running game for the Rams? What do you see from the Eagles? Do they finally step it up and start slinging the ball around to Brown and to Smith?
Yeah, Kyron's taking a little bit of a step back for people that drafted him high, right? We're used to him having about 4 touchdowns by now. This is going to be A.J. Brown. I got a feeling A.J. Brown's going to have a huge game in this one. The Eagles, they've heard the noise. They know it's all about winning. But I think early, with a competitive team coming in, a solid defense, I do think that they try and zig when the Rams are zagging. The Rams know, just like Marty just mentioned, everybody recognizes that the Eagles just want to run the ball, pound it, short passes, get the win, play smart. I think early on, you're going to see the Eagles take some shots downfield. I think A.J. Brown is going to benefit. I think he's going to have a huge game. I really don't expect anybody to be putting him on their bench, but if you even are considering it, don't. I like A.J. Brown a ton in this one. And of course, the other guys, Play Smith, sure. Goddard, I think, is back, but there's a ton of other options out there. I've talked about a bunch of tight ends that should be available that I would rather play. Goddard was a week 1 thing and then was hurt last week. They have other weapons, and they will utilize them. Barkley, you're not even thinking about Tank Bigsby yet, but I do think he'll get more involved in this one. And for the Rams, Puka's just killing it. And I think Puka will continue to do his thing. Devontae scored last week, if I'm not mistaken. So this one should be a nice competitive game. I think it could go over that 44.5. I could see a 24-21 to sneak by. But I do think A.J. Brown shows up for the first time this season in this game.
All right, mark down A.J. Brown. He's making an appearance today, folks. All right. Go to a few questions here. Hello, friends. PPR, Eagles or Packers?
I feel like Packers is like the easy choice, right? Their defense has been lights out. But I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm going with the home team. And that's probably not what you want to hear or what most people would say, but I just think that the Eagles, because I'm a little worried about the Browns offense, Flacco, just punching them in the nose early on. The Packers have been great at home. Now they're on the road. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Jaylen Warren and Pollard, I love them both. I love that once they realized 3/4 of the way through the first game of the season, hey, Jaylen Warren, if we start using him, we'll be good. And they ended up winning that game against the Jets, and they continued to use him last week. But Aaron Rodgers said we need to use him even more. But I'm going to go with Pollard over Warren. I just like the matchup for Pollard, again, at home. And Goddard or Kraft, well, you just go with Goddard, I think, because I think that the Packers will be smart with Kraft because Musgrave is the same exact person.
All right. Thanks, Antonio. Jeremy, I need a flex. I think I already know where you're going with this. Dubs, JCM or Kraft?
Let's see. JCM. I would go with Krosky Merritt. Is that who you were picking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him today with no Eckler. Relatively solid matchup for him. Rodriguez will play and he'll steal some stuff, but he had a down week last week. I like him today, especially with the backup quarterback. Dobbs, my love for Romeo Dobbs. I'm like Juliet. But he's a crapshoot, and he'll always show up. He'll always make plays. He'll probably score a touchdown. But I'm going to go with JCM, somebody who they're going to utilize more often than they have at all this season.
Okay. Derek, need a flex, Ridley, Scatterbo, Franklin, Harvey, or Benson?
Oh, man. I think that it's not the smart play, but if it was me, I'd probably just ride the wave with Franklin because I feel like if you play Ridley, who's my other choice, Franklin will explode like I think he's going to continue this trajectory of his taking over of the number one wide receiver in Denver because I think it's happening. They're finally using him. They should have done this last year. But I think he's taking over Courtland Sutton and becoming the solidified number one for this team. So I would probably, if it was my team, I'd probably just shoot for the fences. A lot of it, Derek, though, if you're listening and watching, would depend on my matchup. How did Thursday go? How does my opponent's team look versus mine? If I could take that risk, I'll take it. If not, I'm fine putting Ridley in at home. I think Tennessee, another game under Cam Ward's belt, being at home, relatively decent matchup. I'm fine with Ridley. I love how Harvey looked week one. He was used sparingly week two. I love Trey Benson, but Connor's still there. Scatterbo's also in that timeshare. Tracy's fine to play this week. So it's between the two wide receivers for me. If it was my team and everything looks good, I'm shooting for the fences with Franklin. If not, you've got to play it safe. I think you go Ridley.
All right. Before I get to the Colts and Titans, got a few other questions I just want to bring up that have been brought in to the show. So first one, Chris, my starter was Daniels. Would you go with Indiana Jones or Mariota?
Yeah, I was going to tell him that. His name is not Danny Dimes anymore. It's Indiana Jones. Would I go with Indiana Jones or Mariota? I'm going to go with Indiana Jones. I know he's on the road, but he's rolling. And the Titans is a beatable matchup, and I do like the Titans' offensive players this week enough to keep Daniels needing to throw the ball. We're going to talk about the game in a minute, but I'll kill two birds with one stone to save some time, Marty. I think Ty Warren's going to show up today. And Pittman disappeared week 2 like we thought he would. I think he'll kind of come back today. We'll see him. I can't stand him, but Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, those guys will all get involved. And I'd love Jonathan Taylor today. So because of that, I think Indiana Jones is a great play against the Titans. For the Titans, Ayo Manor caught his touchdown last week after he had a ton of targets week 1. Like I told you, he had a ton of targets this week. I like Ridley, or first week. I like Ridley. I like Pollard. Chiga Conquo will get going in this one. So this one I think is going to be a pretty high scoring game, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, for sure. I think I like Pollard in this game. He hasn't done much the first 2 weeks, and I think they're going to give him a chance to take some pressure off of Cam, and that's going to open Cam up for Ridley and the other receivers you mentioned. Funny thing, we mentioned this about the Colts. They have not punted yet.
Yeah.
But they are going onto the road. See how they do against Tennessee. It's a great question. One other question from Chris as we get some questions in here. Judkins, Tootin, or White, Rushy White in my flex pick 1.
Tootin is likely the highest ceiling, I think. But I think I would go Judkins. I think I'd play him for the first time this season. I know that the Packers defense has looked tough, but I think another week of practice under his belt is really going to show through. And I do think that if they get close, I could see him punching in 1 or 2 touchdowns today. He's that type of guy. I think Tootin is the higher ceiling and probably safer. The Rashad White thing, I'm sort of just staying away from a little bit. I know against the Jets, he could be fine, but I'm going to go with Judkins. If it was my team, I'm taking a stab at it and saying today's the day where he puts his name on the map.
All right. And we have a trio here. Chris, one more. Pick 3 Evans, Ibuka, BTJ, Pearsall, Keenan Allen, or Pittman. You already talked a little bit about Pittman and Ibuka and Evans.
I'm definitely playing Pearsall. It's a great matchup against Arizona. Mac Jones is just fine. It burns you when he plays and does nothing, but I like Pittman, so I'm going to go with him. And I'm going to go with Evans. I'm not going to let the quarterback scare me. I'm fine with Evans, Pearsall, Pittman. And we'll see. This is a good lineup you have here. I think that no matter who you pick, you'll be relatively okay. Those would just be the 3 I would throw in.
Okay. Sean has a question here. Wilson, Sutton, Olave, Ibuka, or Golden. And I didn't mention Golden when we talked about the Browns-Packers matchup. I don't know. I have a funny feeling Love's going to be able to hit him on a big play and open some things up. Anyway, pick 2.
Yeah, I mean, both weeks he's had a shot. I think I'm going to sit Sutton for sure because I do think that he's falling to the number 2. Plus, they're playing against the Chargers, which might end up being the best defense in the league. We'll see. Ibuka, I'm going to sit him just because if that's Garrett Wilson, there's no way you could sit him. So it comes down to Olave and Golden for me. And Olave playing in Seattle, the 12th man, their defense looked pretty good. Rattler, who I talked about early in the show has looked better than I thought. Olave's been okay. Again, you want to swing for the fences or you want some steady Eddie. I'm definitely playing Wilson, and I'd take a shot with Golden because I do think the Browns offense is going to be able to do some things. So, and they're going to need them. So Wilson and Golden for me. If you want to be a little safer, Wilson and Olave.
All right. Another question here from Tim. Running back 2, Tracy Benson or Allen for the Jets. Tight end, Kraft or Ferguson?
I'll start with the tight end. I mean, obviously it's Ferguson, but I also really like Ferguson in this game. So he's top 5 tight end for me for the week, and Kraft isn't even playing. So that's an easy one. You might have posted this early in the week. But if Kraft does play, I still like Ferguson more. Tracy Benson, Allen. I want to say Allen. Tracy could give you some of that Sunday night magic. They're playing Sunday night, right? Kansas City?
Yeah.
Okay, so he could give you some of that. And I kind of feel like Brees Hall might do a little more than Allen today, but they're so close to 50-50, and I don't think Scatabo is there yet. I think that it could happen. He could overtake Tracy, and Tracy could be the third down. And as much as I love Benson, I think I would go with Tracy and just have some Sunday night magic.
Okay.
In my back pocket in case I need it.
Finally, Chris, Knicks or Penix?
That's a tough one. Penix might not need to throw all too much. Knicks is going against the best defense in the league, in my opinion. Wow. I'll go with Knicks. I wanted to say Penix, but he just doesn't throw enough as is. And today he most likely might not need to. So I'm going to go with Knicks. It could be tough, but he's played them twice. So he has some experience going against the Chargers. So I'm going to go Bo Nix.
All right. Let's go back to Sunday games. Next one, the Bengals against the Vikings. We've talked a lot about the quarterbacks here with McCarthy and Burrows out. So, we talked about it on Tuesday. Is this Mason time? Another person I like in the Vikings lineup who's not done much is Hawk. Does he make an appearance here in this game as a safety valve? For the Bengals, Browning seemed to just continue on once he replaced Burrows, throwing the ball around. But is this a Chase Brown game? Again, a running game on both sides with sprinkling of passing. What do you see here? The Vikings are favored by 3 with lower than over-under than I thought it would be.
Yeah, well, the reason it's lower is because it is the battle of the backups. But again, Wentz could throw a couple picks and give the Bengals short field. Browning most definitely probably will throw a couple picks and give the Vikings a short field. So it could wind up being more of a high-scoring game. It's actually an over-under. I would probably feel pretty comfortable taking the over because both of these teams have a ton of star players who can score at will. And the quarterbacks that they're playing, they're not rookies. They're not inexperienced. Carson Wentz obviously has a ton of experience, and Browning has a ton of experience as well from all the times that he's had to fill in. He's old. He's not a young gun. I think he's 27 or 28 years old, so he's been around with this team. And he looked pretty good last week. He made a couple mistakes, so he'll probably make a couple more today. But I like all of the players that you would normally play. This is like a Miami Buffalo part 2 for week 3. Why would Jordan Mason not go crazy in this one? TJ Hawkinson, yes. With Carson Wentz in there with your backup quarterback. McCarthy looked good for a quarter. And other than that, he hasn't looked really good at all. I love him. I loved him going in the season. But if 2 weeks was the entire season, I would have been wrong about JJ McCarthy, and that's fine. Um, Carson Wentz probably becomes a little bit of an upgrade, unless he absolutely is a catastrophe, and they got to put like Desmond Ritter in there with no practice time. So I think that Hawkinson, you feel safer about playing them. Yeah, Jordan Mason, go ahead. Um, Cam Akers is going to play today. We'll see him back with the Vikings, who he looked pretty good for them last year when he was with them. So he'll steal a little bit of the thunder, but Jordan Mason is definitely a play. And of course, Justin Jefferson. The Bengals, they're big too, and they're running back. Tight end, you got to stay away from the Bengals because they have 15 of them. And every week, 3 of the 15 score a touchdown. It's like, you never know. Is it Tanner Hudson? Do they still have him? Mike Gesicki? It's everybody. So, not being said, the battle of the backups, this one actually I think will be high scoring as well because I do think there'll be some short fields.
All right. Another question. Would you trade Keenan Allen and Jake Ferguson to receive Jordan Mason and TJ Hawkinson?
I think I answered this. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I would. And I would have done that before the Aaron Jones injury.
All right, Michael, in PPR format, I'm being offered Gibbs and Pickens for Bucky and Odunze. Should I consider?
I'd rather have Bucky and Odunze. Hopefully you're watching, Michael. I'd rather have them. I know Gibbs is Gibbs, and Pickens, Dallas they've looked really good, and he's going to score a touchdown. He's also going to drop a bunch of touchdowns. Odunze is doing what I thought he would do, taking over that number 1. So the same thing with Troy Franklin happening in Denver has happened in Chicago. And Bucky is Bucky. Bucky and Gibbs, I put them very close to each other, if I'm being honest. I know a lot of people drafted Gibbs like top 5, but to me that was too high.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Josue, who are you starting, Drake May or Kyler Murray? I think you answered this, but I put this on here. Drake May has a tougher matchup, but I feel he's more consistent.
Yeah, and I said I'm fine with Kyler Murray. So go with your gut. If it was me, I'd probably play Kyler and just hope for some of those rush yards and hope that he can hit one of these guys, Harrison or McBride, for some touchdowns because it seems like it's always just Connor and Benson or a bunch of bums that we don't care about.
All right, now we are going Steelers against the Patriots. Steelers favored 1.5. So we've talked a little bit about the Patriots running game. Henderson's been a point of topic. The Steelers have not looked very good on defense and notoriously are very good against the run. They've given up a lot of run yardage against the Jets in week 1 and then to Walker in week 2. So are we going to see a lot of Stevenson? Are we going to see more Henderson? What's with the Patriots? On the Steelers side, it's one of those things. Rodgers can get really hot and just start spreading the ball around. First week he was throwing it to Calvin Austin, and he was throwing it to Metcalf and everybody. And last week he had a little bit more of a struggles. Is this a Jalen Warren game, another run game, and another game where we see maybe they don't reach 44.5?
I just want to look real. Did Darnell Washington score a touchdown last week? Because why do I feel like he did? I just want to look. No, he did not. I think he'll catch a touchdown this week. He's like 12 feet tall. He's huge. He's a monster. If you've never seen him, look him up. I got a feeling about Darnell Washington scoring a touchdown this week. If he's healthy, I mean, I got to look it up. But then once we're done here, Marty, I'm gonna look at what his odds are because it's probably like plus like 5,000. And I just got a feeling about him. Jalen Warren, yeah, you play him. DK, you play him. Roman Wilson got a little more involved in week 2, but still nothing much. The problem is he's hitting guys that we don't care about. Against the Patriots, they've been a really weird team to me. I mean, we all saw what happened week 1, and then on to week 2. So this game could be a weird one, but I do think, as I mentioned early on in the show, I think we see Henderson today. I think this is a typical. I drafted him to be my RB2. He did nothing for me. I put him on the bench and I kept him on the bench, and he blows up in this one. Ramondre is obviously the top dog, but I do like Henderson a lot in this one. And 5 guy for your eye, there was a blast from the past, relatively 12 months. Mr. Booty, he continues to get it done. Everybody's waiting on Diggs. I would never want him on my team. A, B, I wouldn't even be considering starting him. Maybe he shows up, but I feel like Booty's the guy. And Hunter Henry will continue to say his name every single week. Drake May should be fine in this one. But I do like Kyler Murray more than Drake May. So if you have your own list or your own barometer, wherever you have Kyler Murray, I like Drake May below that. So if you're also somebody that's considering playing him, this game, it's both these teams to me, interestingly enough, and not until this moment in time right here, right now, did I ever realize that neither one of these teams make any sense.
Yeah, well said.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah. I mean, these two teams are the definition of ebb and flow. Just when you think they're going in one direction, no, it comes back.
Yeah. So this will be an interesting one.
So yeah, we're talking a little bit on the running game, and watch Meg throws for 300 and 3 touchdowns, and Henderson and Stevenson don't do anything. But I think, because these teams have just been so Jekyll and Hyde first 2 weeks. We'll see. All right. Yeah. Next one, it's the Las Vegas Raiders going back to the East Coast. They got to win week 1 going over to New England. They're playing the Washington Commanders. Good old Marcus. So I look at this game, at least at the face value. It's a game of running backs and it's a game of tight ends. What are your thoughts on this game here in Washington?
Well, I thought that the Thornton explosion was going to happen last week. It didn't. He did, however, catch a pretty decent pass. I think he might have caught a couple. But the Commanders' secondary is a secondary you could beat, and that's why I don't remember who it was, but somebody was a little worried about Geno. I'm not too worried about it. With Marcus Mariota, it could, again, be some short fields, so the Raiders could take advantage of that. What the Raiders need to do is run the ball more, and they need to run it more with the rookie that they drafted, that so many of you drafted in the first round. I mean, Genty just needs to touch the ball more. He's touching it maybe 10, 11, 12 times a game, I think, if I remember correctly when I was looking back this week. They have to double that. They really do. They got Bowers and Myers and Thornton, but this guy is the cornerstone, and you should be running the ball with him. So I think that if they go into this with the game plan of let's take it out of Geno's hands as much as we can and really pound this rock, then they have a shot, especially going against a backup quarterback in Marcus Mariota. I think of all the backups in the entire league that are starting today, I think Mariota is maybe the one that gives the wide receivers a downgrade. I feel like Wentz doesn't really hurt him too much. I feel like Browning doesn't hurt him too much. I feel like Mac Jones doesn't hurt him too much. But I feel like Marcus Mariota might hurt him a little bit. We'll see. I could be completely wrong, but I'd be a tiny bit worried about Debo and McLaurin. And I do think that they look to run the ball, which is why I recommended JCM early on. And they're going to use Rodriguez in this one as well. Ertz take a little bit of a step back as well. So I feel like they're going to try and run the ball more. I think the Raiders would be smart to run the ball more. So this is one where the receiving aspects of both teams could be a little bit of a decline versus what we hope. We'll see.
All right. Chris has another question. Tyler Warren or Trey McBride?
I'm going to play Trey McBride, and I will not say what he'll do today because I said last week, if he doesn't do it, I won't say it. So I'm not saying it.
All right. Texans against the Jaguars. Now, everybody watched Houston. No running game, no offensive line. Stroud was just off. Higgins is coming back. The Jaguars are favored by 1.5. ETN's been the bright spot on here. Lawrence hasn't been able to get it together in his passing game too much. So what do you expect here down in Jacksonville? Nice division game.
So Kirk is back, right? Kirk is
supposed
back?
to be back, yes.
Okay. So that could help if Stroud has time to throw the ball. The offensive line has been terrible. We would talk so much about the Browns last year, or the Bears, sorry, and their terrible offensive line. The Texans are the worst right now. He's just got no time to throw. The plays that they're drawing up don't account for that. The running back situation, I know Chubb busted one last week. Woody Marks had a nice bust. They got to get him more involved. Pierce, he's either inactive or they're not using him, so completely forget about him. The tight end situation with Schultz, I mean, he's somebody who you're going to use if injuries are bad or your bye week is very dry. But the wide receivers, you can't sit Nico Collins. Higgins, every once in a while, is showing a little something. But I think Kirk over the middle of the field might help to open that up today. So we'll see if he helps and if Kirk has a good game. Am I telling you to play Kirk? No, I don't think you can with his first game with the team. But I think over the middle, he's a little slot guy. I think he could help to give him more time in the pocket. So that's what I'll be looking at today. And we'll talk more about it Tuesday. But I think you got to play for sure Nico Collins on that side. The other guys, I'd be okay. We don't have to. It's part 2 of part 1, remember? So we got time to make a decision of should I put Nick Chubb in there. I know he did something, but to me, I'm okay with him on the bench, even against the Jaguars. And for the Jags, Hunter's going to play more on defense. They're saying, so that sort of hurts. Unless you're in an IDP league, but he's making plays on offense. But they say they might want to use him more on defense. So BTJ, can you bench him? I don't think so. The Texans defense has been good, but their offense has just been terrible because they have no line. The ETN Tootin situation gets tougher and tougher by the week. Coach obviously loves ETN. Tootin is electric, but they're going to eat into each other. And the tight end situation, I said it. I mean, the Brenton Strange truthers. I was not behind it. We'll see if he can come to life.
All right. I'm really curious. I have just a gut. We're going to see a lot of Woody Marks. We'll see.
I feel like they should. They need to use him more. He's a scat guy. Get it to him. Dump it off to him. You have no time. Send him out. Drop. It's the same thing I said with DeAndre Swift last year. It's like with the Bears. It's like you have no time, Caleb Williams. So draw up a play where you dump it to Swift. And whenever they did that, they had success. So good call, Marty.
Yeah, we'll see what that happens. That should open up then the slot for Kirk, and then that opens up Collins and Higgins. But we'll see how patient they are with that. Question came from Facebook too late when we started our show. Would you go with Kirk or Hunter?
I'm actually probably going to go Kirk, to be honest. I just think they're going to need him a little bit more and use him a little bit more because they've been waiting to do so. So, and especially if it's PPR or even half PPR, I think Kirk is just a safer floor.
All right. Next game, we talked a little bit about this. Saints at Seahawks. Charbonnet is probably out today. The Seahawks surprised us a little bit with their running game last week against the Steelers. They're back home. Is Darnold going to continue opening this up with JCN and my bridge bonus, Troy Horton? For the Saints, we talked a little bit about Rattler hasn't looked terrible. Olave, we haven't heard much about Kamara. What do you see in this game here in Seattle with the Seahawks favored by 7, but it's a very low over-under at 41.5?
Yeah, tough defense, tough place to play. Rattlers look better than I thought he would. We'll see if he can continue in this difficult confines of the 12th man. Juwan Johnson, if you've been playing him, just keep playing him. There's going to be a week, and I hope not, because I'm a big fan of his since the beginning. But there's going to be a week where he disappoints and disappears, but maybe not. Spencer Rattler really likes him. He's never played full-time with Spencer Rattler, so maybe they're onto something. So continue with him. Olave continues to stay healthy and get targeted. So continue to play him. It's just going to be a tough game. I don't know how you could possibly sit Alvin Kamara. You can't. So you just hope for the best. But it's tough. The Seahawks look like one of those defenses. It happens every single year. The teams that people draft as the top defenses fall off, and a bunch of defenses that were the last few defenses taken move into those top spots. I mean, it's happening. It's happened very, very early on. I know the Chargers were up there early, but the Packers were late. The Seahawks were late, and they're up there towards the top. And for the Seahawks, JSN, Darnold's doing his thing, and he's at home, so it's going to help him as well. There's going to be a surprise at running back because Charbonnet's not going to play. George Holani, I'm going to give you a little bit of a 5 guys for your eye preview, and even if he does nothing this week, he's going to be on the list next week. So if you're watching now, you get a preview a week ahead of time because Walker always misses time. Charbonnet always misses time. It's always at least one of them. And if it's ever both of them, this becomes even more important. George Holani, I think he might score a touchdown today. A name that nobody knows. But go ahead and do what I did last night and look at some of his YouTube tape from college. He's going to score today against the Saints. I just have a feeling. So Darnell Washington, George Holani, if you're into a low risk, high reward, put a couple bucks, make a ton back. Those 2 guys today, I just got a little bit of a feeling about them. George Holani.
Okay.
And Torrey Horton scored a touchdown for you last week. I think he could continue to do some things.
Yeah, Cup's been getting some targets, and we'll see what continues to happen. But I'm thinking we're going to see Horton appearing on the scoreboard here. All right, Broncos at the Chargers. We've talked a little bit about this, obviously, with the Broncos wide receiver. Ingram is out for the Broncos. For the Chargers, we talked even at the beginning of the season. For me, I thought they were the best team in the West. Herbert's passing really well. The defense is playing well. I see more of a burn maybe in the running game today. What do you see in this game with the Broncos traveling into a very difficult home opener for the Chargers? And I call it the home opener because they opened up in Brazil as the home team. So this should be a pretty darn good game.
Yeah, no Disley, right? But Conklin's still going to play. You don't really have to mess with him. No Evan Ingram, so Troutman will be the guy, but you don't really have to play him. So the running backs, I think, would be a good place to focus. And that's what you mentioned. Hampton has yet to really, really get going. It'll be very tough against the Broncos to do so. But I think smartly, Marty, you said that that would be a good decision for them to try and attack this Broncos defense would be through the run game. So we'll see. Keenan Allen, everybody loves him. Quentin Johnston, uh, go ahead if you must. There are two guys that I really have no interest in. But Quentin Johnson, I was wrong about. I said it on Tuesday, so he's doing his thing, and I loved him as a rookie. He just disappoints me all the time. Um, my favorite player in this game to watch today is going to be Troy Franklin. Can he 100% overtake Cortland Sutton and do it against this very tough defense?
Who are you seeing on the Broncos side? Is it it's going to be Harvey or Dobbins that's going to be the featured running back, or is it just going to be one of those?
It's one of those.
Yep. Okay.
One of those. It's one of those because Harvey looked great week one when they gave him minimal snaps, and then last week hardly seemingly used him. It's going to be tough against the Chargers. So I think Bo Nix will be needed a little bit more. And if they dump off to running backs, both of those guys can catch passes. So
yeah, for sure. I like McConkey in this game. For some reason, he's been fairly quiet. I just think they're gonna need him to keep moving the ball, especially if they can't get the running game going.
Well, I had mentioned on the Tuesday show is I was sorry. The bad news was McConkey owners because Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston are showing up, and that's hurting McConkey. McConkey was McConkey last year because they had no one else.
Yeah.
So you might be onto something. Maybe because those two, that's called an ebb and flow or a
sage.
A sage. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Really good game coming up here. The Cowboys at the Bears. Now, interestingly, on the Cowboys, two of their main starters in their secondary are out. So for the Cowboys, Javonte Williams just keeps doing it. He gets the ball. He falls over the end zone. He's been doing more than I think we just thought early on, but they don't have anyone else in the backfield right now that's shown anything. Obviously, the Cowboys have Dak and their CD and Pickens and Ferguson. On the Bears side, with the Cowboys secondary banged up, this was shown last week with the Giants. If this isn't a Caleb Williams game,
right,
with Adunze and DJ Moore and the rookie tight end and maybe a lot of dump offs with Swift, I don't see how this can't be a Caleb Williams game. And I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan, so I hope he doesn't disappoint me again. But that's what I'm looking at this game. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree completely. The big four, and then also if you want to include Javonte for the Cowboys, just continue to do what you're doing with them. There's no need to really talk about them. But for the Bears, if you can't do it now against the Cowboys, who just made Russell Wilson look like Tom Brady times Patrick Mahomes times Elway times Favre times Marino, he just looked incredible. And if you can't do it with the secondary banged up, then all is lost. In going into this game, Adunze play him. DJ Moore is worth a shot against the secondary. What they have to start doing, and I think it's going to happen this week, I think a lot of people drafted him, and especially rookie drafts, dynasty leagues, you drafted them early. Colston Loveland, I think he's going to have a nice blow up in this one. The Cowboys stink against the tight end. We saw with Dallas Goedert. Theo Johnson, by the way, last week, I loved him as a play. He came through huge. He won both of his props, receptions, and yardage by a mile. If they can't do it and get Colston Loveland involved in this one, and they can't move the ball, Caleb Williams, like you said, I mean, they have bigger issues than we could even imagine because at home, beat up secondary team that just got demolished, essentially by the Giants of all people. This has to be. I think Loveland is going to be a star in this one. I think he's going to put his name on the map and say, "Oh, that's why you were drafted 10th overall in last year's draft. And for the running backs, if Swift doesn't play, I know he's probably going to, but I think that they will get Roshan finally involved, and then Kyle Monangai, however you want to say it, he'll be involved as well. They'll use all three, but I think it's the passing, like you said, that's really going to be what we're looking at in this game.
Yeah, hopefully it's an entertaining game. The Cowboys did win 40-37 last week with the Giants, so they were able to keep up with the Giants. See if the Bears can show up here at home. It's going to be electric in Soldier Field. All right. Cardinals against the 49ers. We've talked a little bit about this game too. So a lot of questions about the quarterback, and also, Connor. I know you're not a big fan of Connor. You like Benson. Benson's been getting a little bit more burn each week, either on rushes or he'll be more targets. On the 49ers side, Mac Jones, serviceable, seems to work well with this structure. What do you see in this game? Any standouts? Does Harrison and McBride get back on the stick, as they say, and just this is another game that I think potentially has a high-scoring game, and it comes down to the end, as we talked about earlier before our show.
Yeah, this to me is. I know you asked me before the show. You said, what's your favorite game? I don't know if it's my favorite, but I feel like it's the one that I could probably tell you what's going to happen more confidently. Whenever these two teams play, it seems to be around a 31-28 game, and it's usually a field goal that happens late. And that's been not every time, but even times where the 49ers were really good and the Cardinals were terrible, or the Cardinals were really good and the 49ers were terrible. They always seem to play each other tough, and it sort of goes back and forth. I like Kyler in this one, in their big four. You mentioned McBride and Harrison. Continue to play them. You'll be just fine. And the two running backs, right? Because they're both getting burned. They're both producing. I do like Benson more, but until Connor is not involved, we can't slam dunk him, but you do what you've been doing with them. And for the 49ers, Mac Jones, 3 touchdowns last week. Looked great, no interceptions. And it's what he did last year for the Jags, turning Brian Thomas Jr. into a household name. He continued that type of play. And this is the perfect quarterback system that Kyle Shanahan has with the 49ers. So Jennings looked fine. I really like Pearsall in this one. They used two tight ends last week. Tonjes did a little, but another tight end, the traditional older guy, I can't think of his name, but I think he scored a touchdown. And the running back situation, McCaffrey, they'll use a little bit of Brian Robinson. Every once in a while, you might see some other guys thrown in. So, but this one I think will be a normal, high-scoring, typical matchup. So you just continue to play the guys you're using, and the guys that have been doing what you hoped for or haven't been doing what you hoped for, they'll continue that and a little bit better in this matchup.
All right. Sunday night game, the 0-2 Chiefs against the 0-2 Giants. Chiefs are favored by 6. Now, for the Chiefs, there was talk about he might play. He is definitely out. We've talked about Pacheco over the last 2 weeks. Seems to be just a little off, but the Giants are giving up a ton of rushing yards. It's just potentially a breakout game for Pacheco in the Chiefs rushing game. For the Giants, they had a big game last week. Are they able to continue that pace against a fairly strong Chiefs defense? What do you see from Wilson? What do you see from Neighbors, from your Wandale? The tight end you mentioned, they were all good last week. Do we see them to continue that against the Chiefs? And who comes out as getting their first win of the season?
Listen, I gave a preview bonus for next week's 5 Guy for Your Eyes a few games ago. I'm going to give another one. Now, there's 2 people watching. I know people come back and they watch it later, and thank you for that. So you also will be included in this. But I got another five guy for your eye preview in this one. I do agree that I think Pacheco has a chance here to finally perform well. But I've said it for the past four shows, three shows at least, 2 weeks. He has not looked good. He's looked very sluggish. And because of that, I've been waiting for this one. I almost added him to the list of five guys this week, but because I didn't, I'm going to give him to you now. And it'll probably be on next week. But if you're paying attention now, you're getting it a week ahead. So this is even more of being always a step ahead here at Answers by Guess. Rashard Smith, the running back for the Chiefs. Do as I did last night when I was checking out the other highlights. I checked out some of his highlights. I think he played for SMU. He looked really good, and Isaiah Pacheco has not looked really good. I think Brashard Smith is somebody to have your eye on before I even tell you to have your eye on him. If they start using him a little bit in this one, it's a night game. We see this happen all the time. It's a night game. Everybody's watching. He's going to be someone that people are going to go crazy for on Tuesday when waivers hit if he pops off. And if he doesn't, but Pacheco doesn't quite splash the way that we think he should, you need to know this name because the Chiefs will be thinking, all right, we got to do something different in the running game. So I know you love them. Hollywood, sure. Continue. Kelsey, sure. They should be able to do whatever the heck they want against the Giants. The other five guy I gave you, Tyquan Thornton, they're going to hit at least one of those deep balls with them. They'll probably try it 2 or 3 times this game. I think a good play actually for this might be if the Giants offense can stay competitive, the only way this hits. If you take Tyquan Thornton 2+ touchdowns, the odds are probably astronomical. They're trying that play 2 or 3 times a game. And if they can hit it twice, then he's scoring 2 touchdowns this game. So that's like a super home run play, but very little risk, very high reward if it does hit. They're trying it, and the Giants are the team perfectly that can give it up. And what better time to do it on Sunday Night Football for the Giants? I talked about them at nauseum. I feel like with Mr. Bologna Sandwich, Wandale Robinson, Malik Neighbors, you continue to go with them. Theo Johnson, I'm fine with them. The running backs we talked about. It's nice to have some Sunday night magic. The problem with this game is there's a ton of guys who more than likely you can't play. Like you can't play Tyquan Thornton, but I think he could have a huge statistical game if they hit a couple times. But you can't play him. Maybe if you're doing a DFS single game for tonight, you want to make sure to get him in your lineup. Maybe if you're playing that 2+ touchdown prop, maybe. But with this, it's like the only reason you're playing the majority of these guys, in my opinion, is because of the Sunday night magic. Outside of Malik Neighbors.
All right. Super cool. This should be a great way to end the Sunday games. And then we go into Monday night. The Detroit Lions traveling to Baltimore. Ravens favored by 4.5. Highest over under I've seen in a long time. It was this morning, 53.5. This is another one. If you got their players, you're putting them in. What's your take on this Lions-Ravens game?
Yeah, if you got the players, you're putting them in. This could be the ultimate ebb and flow epitome. Lions didn't look good week 1 on the road. They looked great last week at home. Now they go on the road against a stout defense. So we'll see. Jared Goff is always better at home or even in a dome because you go back to his Rams days than he is out in grass. But the weather's going to be fine. And they got some WD-40 in their gears. So they'll be fine. Gibbs, go ahead. Montgomery, if they get close, if you're playing them. Exactly what you said. If you got the guys, play them. If you've been playing them, play them. Same with the Ravens. Not much to talk about. Last week, Derrick Henry did nothing. and he'll be fine this week. You're not taking him out of your lineup. You're playing the ebb and flow with him, and that's doesn't even need to be said. I do still like Rashad Bateman as sort of a wild card. A little bit last week, but it still seems to be the Flowers show. But I think Lamar's going to have to throw more in this one and is likely coming back.
I don't
I'm
think
wondering.
he is.
No, so next week maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not this
All
week.
Right. All right.
Yeah. Well, I think, talking about ebb and flow, this is going to be a Henry game. 100 yards plus 2 touchdowns. And I think if when Lamar has to throw, I really like Bateman in this game too.
Has anybody else's allergies been killing them the past couple of weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Like
No rain.
Mine's just been driving me nuts.
The pollen's awful. Hopefully you'll get some rain soon. We're supposed to get rain over the next couple of days, which we haven't had rain in almost 3 weeks.
Which means it'll come this way soon.
Yeah. All right. That runs us for week 3. Anything else to add there, Guess?
No. It's part 2 of part 1.
That's a perfect way to end. All right. Good luck on all your games. Hey, we'll try to keep an eye out on Facebook if you have any questions before going into the games. We'll try our best to answer those. So thanks for tuning in. And remember, we'll be back on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. All right.
Good luck. Thanks again, everybody.